Join the Cougar Collective today, your home base for all NIL opportunities, connecting student athletes, fans, and business owners. Join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90. You can also make a one-time donation. And if you're a business, you can collaborate your brand. Also, drink the Old Crimson Legendary Lager brewed by Pike Brewing. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. Visit CougarCollective.org. Go Cougs! All right, welcome in. It's the Old Crimson podcast. It's brought to you by Cougar Collective, your home base for all NIL opportunities, connecting athletes, fans, and business owners. Join today, hashtag Mighty by Many, and supporting student athletes on and off the field. You can join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90 a month. You can also make a one-time donation. If you are a business, you can collaborate your brand as well. And, of course, you can drink the Old Crimson Legendary Lager brewed by Pike Brewing. I'm going to have about 15 of these after this show's over. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. Visit CougarCollective.org. Also, Flat Stick Pub, Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 great locations across the state. In Washington, Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered. Date night, guys night, ladies night, large group event, great place for kids, and of course, great place to watch the Cougs and celebrate the Cougs. FlatStickPub.com. Well, I see one person, and that would be Jim Moore, Paul Sorensen. The video or camera not working and his setup, so you'll just hear Paul and just the blank space that is Paul. Jim, do you think this is an upgrade? I think so.
Yeah, what's going on with Sorensen anyway?
I'm a radio guy. I don't need to be on frickin' camera, so yeah. I'm perfectly content with this.
This is really, it's going to work well for the YouTube views when they just hearing somebody talk and it's a blank space.
What's the problem, Paul?
I don't know. I've had problems all morning with it. For some reason, my camera's not working. And the audio portion is, but I guess I am doing my best Jim Moore right now to F this podcast.
Jim's been always good on this. I'll be honest with you. This is new territory. This is now the Paul Sorensen. So
yeah, you're really frustrating Puck. You're really frustrating.
I know, and I feel bad.
I can see the frustration.
I think the highlight of my frustration is: do you have an iPhone? Yes. Go to the App Store and download the app that we use, Riverside, and then he doesn't know where the App Store is, and then he's in the Apple Store.
Oh, I found the App Store.
You're like my mom, who should not own an iPhone. People like you shouldn't have an iPhone.
Why?
Just go get.
I'm going to stick up for Paul on that
because he doesn't know how to use it.
Yes, he does.
He doesn't know where the App Store is.
I just found it. Here we go.
He's got an iPhone and doesn't know where it is. He was in the Apple Store. And then he goes, I'll just type in Google. You're like my mom. My mom doesn't need an iPhone. I told her, just get a flip phone. That's what you need, Paul. I'm going to buy you a flip phone.
Well,
no,
the good news is I did find your App Store, and I have to sign it with my Apple ID, which I don't remember.
Yeah. So. See, again, you don't deserve you shouldn't have an iPhone. All right, let's get into it. We're gonna rant. We're gonna rave. I am more raving than in ranting about the Cougs. They are 4-0 for the second straight year after their thrilling victory. They're over San Jose State. Almost said Sacramento State. San Jose State. They're in double overtime. They got Boise State coming up this week. We'll be joined by Jamey Vinnick coming up a little bit later in the program. Get his thoughts on the Cougs as they gear up to face the Broncos Saturday night in lovely Boise. But let's first start with looking back in that game against San Jose State. Jim, we'll start with you. You were there. You witnessed it. Dad's weekend. It was a thriller. It didn't need to get to that point, but you were consistent all week long. This game scared you, and rightfully so.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I knew a lot about San Jose State and thought that they were going to be tough competition for the Cougs. And the betting line was, we were double-digit favorites. I think the game went off at 12.5 or something like that. But it was just the spot that the Cougars were in. Right after the Apple Cup, a big emotional win. And the bigger game is this week against Boise State. So coming right in between there, it seemed like a trap game, classic letdown spot. I don't know how much that had to do with it. Actually, now that we survived winning by 2 points in double overtime, somehow survived, I think it might have been a good thing for us because I don't think we're going to play that poorly I'm hoping anyway that there's an uptick with our defense, because our defense isn't very good. To put it mildly, bluntly, succinctly, all those LY words.
Yeah. Not good is what you're saying. Not a good defense. And Jim, your microphone is not working as well.
The old podcast is really kicking off here, isn't it?
The old Crimson podcast, a fucking disaster. Thanks, Flat Stick Pub and Cougar Collective. Now Jim's microphone's not working. Can you fucking two guys figure it out?
Is it working
please?
now?
Yeah.
It is.
Come on.
Well, somebody just tried calling me.
What have I told you a million times? Turn it off. Do not disturb on your phone.
I'm trying to get a couple tickets for the game for my kids. They're driving from Pullman to Boise.
Well, can you do it later?
Is that more important than the old Crimson podcast? I just gave you a really good analysis of Saturday or Friday night's game in Pullman, didn't I?
Can we get your undivided
What do I have to
attention?
Turn off my phone? You want me to turn my phone off?
Well, so when the phone call comes in, it doesn't pick up on your earbuds. Oh God, Jesus!
It's not my fault that somebody called me. Don't blame me.
It is your fault.
I'm going to defend Jim on this one. It's not his fault. He's trying to get his kids to the game. Yeah. God bless him. Good job.
Hold on. Hey, Paul.
I'm talking in a class.
Paul, time out here. You're a father, right, Paul? How many kids do you have?
6.
You have 6 kids?
Well, second marriage.
Okay, but how?
3. So they're my kids too. So there you go.
So his kids are 20. I'm just wondering, as 20-year-olds, do you think they have the ability to find football tickets themselves, or do they still need daddy to hold their hand to get them tickets?
Well, that's
curious.
A pretty good point, Puck. I would say that maybe time to cut the proverbial cord there and let them. We'd sneak into games. I never used my old man to get tickets. I always figured out a way on my own. But you know what? That's okay, because that's, God bless him. He's in his kid's life. He's excited about him. He's trying to do everything he can to make it appropriate. I'm going to side with Mr. Moore on this one.
All
Good
right.
for him.
Thank you, Paul.
Are you going to do this when they're 40 and 50 and?
Yep.
What the fuck do you care about that for? Why do you care about that? I'm going to spoil my kids, okay? Is that all right?
No one
I'm going to keep spoiling them as long as I'm taking my last breath. I don't care.
Can they go find tickets themselves? I
know they can find tickets themselves, but they're trying to avoid StubHub and all those fucking fees they have. Excuse my language on Old Crimson here. I apologize, but you're pissing me off. God, you're just an asshole sometimes. Yeah, I don't know why I do this.
I figure it out.
I take this abuse and I do it for nothing.
Yeah, I know.
I raced home. I raced home. I had to drop off my termination, my termination notice to get out of my house. Had to put gas in the car, and I thought, God, I better get back by 2:00 because that's when we're recording Old Crimson, and then Sorensen's screwing things up.
Well, actually, the reason you can't.
You know what? Hey, Paul, he should just be thanking us from the bottom of his heart instead of being so frustrated that we don't know technology like he does.
Well, I think the reason I'm not being seen is I'm completely naked sitting in my office at this time. And I think there was a filter that came on and wanted to make sure nobody else saw that.
I buy it. It's that's all you got to do.
Did that make you feel bad at all? Do you feel bad now?
No, I don't feel bad at all.
Okay.
Not one bit.
So when do you quit caring about your kids? Did that happen, when they came out of the womb, or what?
No, I just have raised my kids to kind of act and think for themselves, and they're able to go do things themselves. I don't have to go hold their hand to the grocery store.
Let me ask you before we
buy
get into
tickets for a sporting event.
Before we get into this, impossible task of trying to stop this running back of Boise State's, don't you think though that if your son came up to you and said, "Hey, Dad," no matter what age he is, I'm trying to avoid those exorbitant, ridiculous ticket fees on the secondary market. Is there any way you could maybe use some of your connections, being a prominent Coug? Not that I'm a prominent Coug. You're a prominent Coug. Paul's a prominent Coug. He was an All-American. Everybody knows that.
Didn't know you were a prominent
every
Coug.
broadcast we hear about him being an All-American. But don't you think you'd help your kid out too?
Well, of course I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I just don't know why it has to be right now.
Can we get back to the freaking game and quit bitching like a bunch of old hens here, for Christ's sake?
We tried to get into it, but then he got a phone call. I'm just wondering, are you going to get any more phone calls during it? Should we?
Well, yeah, it was somebody who had 4 tickets, and so.
Okay. Hey, are you going to get them free and then not sit where the tickets are, or how's that going to work?
I'm not going.
Oh,
I'm not going.
Okay.
I might. I gotta work that night.
Paul, Paul, did this game make you as nervous as it made Jim all week?
Yeah, I was dropping some F-bombs on when the 4th and whatever it was with 26 seconds to go when they scored. I couldn't believe it. Guy cut actually underneath the route. He was throwing to the receiver in the back of the end zone, and it was a receiver that was coming in from the inside by the goalpost. He slid across. It wasn't the intended receiver. He was the one that made the catch. He got blistered. So I was very impressed that he was able to hang on to the football, but I just said, this is just a backbreaker. And Jim was right. You gave him kudos, Puck. You talked about this was a trap game. I thought they would, win by a couple of touchdowns, and they were trending that way early. Then they had a miserable third quarter. And I will also say this, being a defensive guy, I get it. A lot of yards, a lot of points. Last 2 weeks, goal line stand against Washington. That wasn't the offense that did it. That was the Cougar defense. This year, this game, second overtime, game on the line, 2-point conversion, defense, he blitzed. Schmedding does a great job, send both inside backers. Both defensive ends get into the play, strip sack, fumble return, win the football game. So they don't give a crap about how much you beat a team by. All they care about is how many wins you have. So now are there things that they can clean up? Absolutely. But defensively, they're giving this football team a chance, and you got a quarterback that's pretty damn good.
I mean, I agree with that, but I'm more in line with Jim. The defense is a problem.
I disagree. I think the defense is a work in progress. They've lost a couple, their marquee guys are in the National Football League or graduated, from that perspective. So that was a pretty nice little stretch last year, but these guys are going to get better. I'm a little concerned about the size in the back end. The safeties are not as big as I thought they were. From that perspective, and they just need to close down on some of the passes, get their head around, and make plays on the ball because they're in positions to make plays. They're just not doing it.
Jim, let's gang up on Paul. You think
perfect.
Their defense is okay?
No, I can't believe that Paul's saying what he's saying. Paul, have you seen the yardage totals?
Who cares?
All 4
Fuck the
games.
yardage.
I mean,
Nobody
we've given up
shit about
400
the
or 500 yards.
God
and his quarterback
damn.
was a walk-on from San Jose State, and he looked like Tom Brady out there.
He played great on that. You're going to punish a guy. They got fucking scholarship guys on the other team too, more. All right? They go out and recruit dudes. They're the best junior college recruiting group. San Jose State, year in and year out, have the best JC guys in the country. They come to that place. They love playing there. That's how they've always recruited. They had some dudes. We lost to those guys in 80. They had 5 NFL draft choices on the team that we lost to. They have always been pretty decent, and they played great. Give them credit. Washington State would have lost that game 2 years ago, maybe even last year. By the way, the last 10 quarters, the fourth quarter that Washington State was behind, they were 0 for 10. This is the first time that they were behind in the fourth quarter since Dicker's been the coach. They came back and won the game. And we're going to give Puck a lot of kudos because it was Machir that did that. And then Janikowski, I do hate kickers, but I don't hate our kicker. He did a great job and came back in having to do a bunch of different things. But that 52-yard field goal with no time left to kick to get him into overtime was huge. So that's all I'm saying. The stats are for frickin' losers. Look at who wins the frickin' game and how you figure out a way to get there.
Sure,
and
but
the defense is giving them a chance.
But Paul, they're 102 in the country in points given up.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not good.
No, I know. Is there room for improvement? Yeah. But
that's all we're saying.
When it comes down to winning, who cares? Win. Figure out a way to win, and that's what they're doing.
Catch up to us at some point.
Maybe, but we're living on the edge just like you do down in Bend when you got dogs crapping on everybody's yard. People calling on the phone, freaking people vacuuming next door when you're trying to do a podcast. Garage doors going up and down, cars coming in and out, all sorts of crap. You're living on the edge too. But you figure out a way to make it work.
I think to Jim's point, and I agree with it. I again, a win is they're 4-0. Yes, they can play better. Yes, they made a great fourth goal, fourth down stop in the Apple Cup. They made the play last week, to win the game. They also gave up 4th and 10 from the 26. I just think that there are some real red flags with this defense. Their secondary is like Gushikin last week, and I love him. He's matched up on their best wide receiver all game long, and I just don't understand that. That just made zero sense to me why you had him matched up with that guy. It was a matchup nightmare. Number two, they just don't have any size up the middle. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback. And then the other thing is when they do send pressure, they send it from the far outside the tackles, and it takes forever for them to get there. They hardly ever blitz anybody up the A and B gaps, up the middle. And watching, if you watch Boise State this past weekend or earlier this year against Oregon, that's the best offensive line they're going to face all year. That kid barely gets any pressure on him, didn't in that game. And with Genty running, I mean, Genty, excuse me, with him running and with the ability for Boise State to throw the ball. I mean, they've got big wide receivers and big tight ends, just like San Jose State did. I'm going to side here a little bit with Jim. Unless they fix it, it's going to bite them soon.
Well, I can see that, Puck, and I think that was well stated, and that was articulate, and that was nice. I get it. But they're also 4-0. And again, this is such a society that's just looking at results. I'm willing to gloss over a few, ugly looking totals like total yards and passing yards and, 102 or whatever it is in total defense, and look at the wins. The last time Washington State started their last two seasons 4-0 was 1906 and 1907. Okay. It doesn't happen very often at Washington State. So let's enjoy this while this stuff is going on. Oh, by the way, they're one of 4 teams in the country that have beaten 2 Power 4 teams in Texas Tech, who won, and also Washington, who won in a pillow fight, but they did win. So again, this is probably going to be their toughest test. And I think you're right, Puck. I think Boise State's the best team that Washington State's going to face up to this point. But I will also say that Dickert and Schmedding have done a really good job on stopping the run. Remember what they did to Wisconsin the last 2 years when they had those backs that we were all worried about? They're going to run all over our ass. You know what? They made him one-dimensional. They're going to I don't know if they're going to slow this kid down, but at least they're going to, make it difficult for him and the backup who are really good.
Hey, Paul, can we agree that we'd be another negative comment coming from Bend, Oregon? I apologize for this, Paul. Maybe you'll lose connection and you won't have to listen to it. There's a good possibility of that happening. Can we agree that as much as we love the Cougs, that we would be 2-2 without John Mateer at quarterback?
Yes. I completely agree with you because
100%.
He's won the game running the football. When things break down, and that's the one dynamic. And Puck, again, I hate this, but I'm going to give you some kudos. You've been a Mateer ball washer from the get-go. Cam was a very good quarterback in terms of when he could sit in the pocket and then get rid of that football. That back foot, was planted. He came through. He was very accurate. But when things broke down, then it was a Barnum and Bailey circus effect where he was running all over the place trying to make something happen. Mateer is the guy, when he plants the foot, falls out, or he's running. And that is really, as a safety, that is really hard to defend. And I remember our guy that we played against that did that was John Elway. You might remember him, kind of successful, wasn't a bad QB. But when he planted his foot and took off upfield, he was 6'4", 235 pounds. He brought it, and he was not fun to have to tackle, and he could throw the ball 75 yards. So I think Mateer is presenting some problems to defenses that are trying to figure out how to stop him, and they're not doing a very good job. So to answer your question, Jim, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, you're 100% right. If he wasn't on the team, I mean, they don't win the Washington game, and they don't win last week. I mean, I just think that is the testament, I think, there to John Mateer and just his playmaking ability. But the only one thing that I would worry about just a little bit, and Paul, maybe you answer this first, and then Jim, back it up, is can you depend on him too much, and can you run him into the ground?
Yes.
Because he's taking too many hits right now.
Absolutely. And in fact, you look at Jake Locker. Look at running quarterbacks over the years. By the end of the season, they're trash because, if he ran the ball, what did he run? 16, 18 times in this game. If he's averaging 15 rushes, plus the sacks, plus getting hit, not getting knocked down, he's probably getting 25 to 30 pops a game. That's like making 25, 30 tackles a game. It's running to the wall. In fact, Jim, this is what I want you to do in your garage there. Just turn around, stand up, and run as fast as you can into the back wall and do that 30 times. How are you going to feel? It's going to hurt. You're going to have a lot of bruises. You're going to be sore.
He's going to injure himself, Paul, if he does that.
It may kill him. So we don't want to do that because we want to have the old man, podcast here and keep Mr. Moore alive. But to answer your question, I think he's got to figure out a way to be a little bit more effective on the passing game, and the running game's got to pick up the slack. He can run, but only when necessary, not all the time.
I want to see him keep doing what he's doing, and I don't think we're going to run him into the ground, or at least that's my hope. I understand that he probably can't take the physical pounding like that for 12 games, but we need him at his best to win this game. And maybe when we're playing Hawaii or somebody like that, okay, let's hand the ball off more and have him throw more. But we need vintage John Mateer in this game. I still can't believe, Puck, I can't believe that Vegas has given us 8 points in this game. I mean, you give Johnny football 8 points, I'm going to take him every single day. I don't think we should be. I mean, yeah, we might lose this game. And Boise, we all know historically how tough they are on that blue field. But I don't know. I think the Cougs have a good shot here. I don't think they're going to lose by more than 8. I mean, maybe.
But isn't it a 7 point? You get 7 points for being at home, in
3.
most cases?
3.
Oh, it's 3. Okay. So they're basically 5 point underdogs is what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boise State. I mean, yeah. Listen, Jim, I'm with you. If I would have put money, I would put money on the Cougs getting the 8.5. Yes, I agree with you.
By the end of the year, you will be.
I can't do it.
You already bet on Mateer to win the Heisman, though.
That's true. I did do that. I did bet on him to win the Heisman. It's gonna be a fun game. I mean, I watched a lot of that Oregon game. Went back and looked at it again this week. I mean, that is just they are a fun, physical, well-coached football team. I just think it's going to be a great matchup, I think, for the Cougs coming up on Saturday. And Mateer's got to play his best. Yep. Kyle Williams can't be dropping passes. The receivers have got to get open. The offensive line's got to do a better job of some protection. And they got to continue to run the ball. And let's just see. I think every team every year when they have a good run on things and make magical runs, I think always get a scare.
Hey, can I say one thing? A couple of fifth-year walk-ons I thought really presented themselves well, especially in overtime. Payne, the running back, with those 2 touchdowns. Quinn Rolfe, the defensive end. Both of those guys started at walk-ons. Both of those guys are fifth-year dudes, and both of those guys were difference makers, especially at the end of the game and into overtime and double overtime. Let's give them a shout-out for playing very well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. They played great. I just think that, it's going to take they're going to have to play, right, Jim, pretty as close as they can against Boise, pretty mistake-free.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, that running back, for good reason, we all have to be concerned about that, coupled with how the Cougar defense has played. And, I like to think that, well, wait a minute, who's Boise State played? He's racked up nearly 600 yards, and I thought, well, in 4 games, that's 150 yards a game, but it's 3 games. They've only played 3 games.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern, he ran all over them. School record 267 yards and 6 touchdowns. And then I thought, well, okay, wait a minute, Georgia Southern, so what? But they played Oregon. They almost beat Oregon in Eugene because of this kid. Oregon. And he ran for nearly 200 yards. He had 3 touchdowns against the Ducks.
He's only averaging 10 yards a carry, Jim. That means every time he touches it, he gets a first down.
Jim?
Missed that. I'm sorry.
I just said he's averaging 10.5 yards a carry. So every single time he touches the ball, in essence, he's getting a first down.
Yeah, so I think this is one of those games, and this is going to be the kind of analysis that Puck will say, oh, man, boy, I couldn't get that anywhere else, where you need to have a ball control offense to keep it away from their running back, don't you? I mean, the more we can do that, the better.
Or you rally to the football, make a lot of tackles. And on this guy, you're going to have to get multiple helmets on him, which means, one-on-one tackles is going to be a tough Steve, because he's shown over the first 3 games that he can break tackles, he can bounce outside, he can run up the middle, and when he gets open, he can house it. So I would rather play against a running team, to be honest, than a team that's going to spread you out all over the place. I love playing against guys like this too.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I agree with you. I mean, they're going to keep the ball away from him. Yeah, they're going to get punched in the mouth on Saturday, and and I think they're going to respond, because they've responded, that way this season. But I just think, as physical as the San Jose State game was, I just times it by 10, times it by 20. That's just how physical Boise is going to want to play. Again, they're going to put on that film from San Jose State, and they're going to look at what San Jose State did against that defense, and that's a team, which again goes back to the defense, how we started this, and we're dropping F-bombs everywhere. That really has been the fuck show of record. They didn't run the ball at all until that game. So they saw something on film and were like, we're going to run the football against them, and constantly. And then Boise's going to see that, and they're going to go, all right, we're going to try and do the same thing, Paul, don't you think?
Well, Puck, I think what they saw on film, and remember, Stutzman was the quarterback at WSU on the Rolovich staff, and didn't take the jab and got fired along with the other 5 coaches that had to go bye-bye. So he's gone up against his defense, against Dickert's defense. Dickert was on that staff. He thought that they were going to bring 3, drop 8, play a little soft on their coverage, basically do what Washington did to Washington State, when Jimmy Lake was the defensive coordinator, just kind of keep everything in front and then collision them. And that's why the running game was there. So I thought, and Ken Niumatalolo, the quarterback for San Jose State, is the all-time winningest coach in Nevada history, or in the Navy history. He is a really good, disciplined football coach that has been able to game plan against a lot of teams. They came in and played their very best game, had a great game plan. They had a fake punt that worked. They had an onside kick that worked. Washington State tried to fake a punt with 11 yards to go, or a field goal, and Janikowski couldn't get there, and they were able to stop it. So special teams weren't overly great, because they gave up 3 big plays on that front. So I think that was a great game plan, and it played into San Jose State's hands, and yet they still lost.
Yeah. Jim, you go back to Mateer for a second, and just what he's meant to this football team, and I want to go back to what you said. I mean, you have to, you can't stop featuring him, and you can't stop just letting him make plays, because how valuable he is to the team. I wonder, you think maybe they could just teach him to slide a few times? Would that be okay?
No, but I think it was when you were talking to Dickert about that, though, where they don't really want to even put any doubt in his mind. Like when he's out there, from a coaching perspective, from a fan's perspective, all of that, we hope that he's going to make it through the entire season. And so, yeah, it'd be good if he slid every once in a while. But I think Dickert was saying, boy, you don't want to put any of that stuff in his mind. You just want him to get after it and try and be as safe as possible when he's delivering the hits out there. He reminds me of Rosenbaugh, Paul. I mean, just the way he goes out there and runs, and he's shiftier than Rosenbaugh was. And I mean, you just got to cut him loose, especially in a game like this one. And, we're trying to, and I know that it's a long way to go, but if we can get past this one, and then you've got a bye week coming up. It's a perfect week to have a bye week, because Fresno State's not going to be easy either, but it'll be okay. No. We can kind of like take a breath and go, okay, man, we're 5-0. Okay, John, we're going to let you rest a little bit this off week, do whatever you want to do, and then we'll get back with it the next week. And so I think it sets up perfectly. But no, he's got to just be balls to the wall in this game. He's got to go all out and do everything he did that made it possible for us to beat Washington and San Jose State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we check in with Jamie Vinnick from Coug fan, let's go around the room. Paul, I'm going to first start with you. As we record this here on Tuesday, the very latest is they've added Utah State. That gives them 7 now. They are awaiting word from UNLV, possibly Air Force, to join the conference. The AA schools said no. I think there's some. I'm curious about the decision there. We can get into it, but what do you make of the current situation right now with the Pac-12 and where they're at? Still awaiting one more team to join.
Well, I think a couple of things. I think there was a lot of gamesmanship going on with Teresa Gould with regard to the AAC. They lowballed them. $2.5 million, offered opportunity, and it wasn't 4 schools. They only offered Memphis, Tulane, and Southern University of Central Florida, or whoever the heck it was, down there in Tampa. They didn't offer the UTSA group. Whoever the hell it was, I don't care. They're
South Florida.
South Florida.
Whatever. Robbie Tobeck University is what we'll call it. Anyway. But they lowballed them because they wanted, basically, I think they wanted to keep the attention on the AAC so that they could keep working the Mountain West. And I think, I just think that she did a great job, from that perspective. Plus, there was a lawsuit that just came out a bit ago with regards to the Pac-12 suing the Mountain West for the basically punitive damages, what was it, the poaching fee, I think, which was $10 million a school, which is now $50 million in value, plus a fee on top of that, that each school had to pay. So I read the legal ramifications on it. We won't get into it, but let me just put it this way. It limits competition on the lawsuit is what they're saying, and it also restrains their ability, to function in a competitive environment. I love this. So think of Doogie Howser. Remember the Whitman County deal where the Pac-12, the Pac-12 was suing the Pac-2, and you had Judge Libby in there, and then the Pac-2 guys came in, their lawyers were there, and they were doing a great job. And then the Washington attorney came in, and he had egg spilled on his shirt, and his shirt was untouched, his glasses were fogged, and he walked in there and absolutely laid an egg. These attorneys that the Pac-12 have are really good, and they're the best antitrust attorneys in the United States. And what they're doing is they're using this right now to basically prolong that payment because they had a 30-day notice set up. So there's a lot of gamesmanship going on. UNLV is going to either come in or they're going to go to the ACC or they're going to stay. But why would they stay in the Mountain West? Because it's not a functioning conference right now. If not, go after Texas State or whoever the Texas school is that they want to get to 8, sit back and relax.
Well, hey, I understand it's all about the money. That's all it is. And I was happy, though, when those 3 schools said no to us. I don't want South Florida, Tulane, or Memphis. And I know that, Canzano and other people who follow it closer than me would say, well, those would have been really, 3 great schools to add to the Pac-12 from the financial perspective. But, fuck that. I get so sick of that bullshit, man. I want something. I want a geographical conference. You know what PAC stands for? It stands for the Pacific Coast. It doesn't stand for anything to do with Memphis, Tulane, or South Florida. I don't want any part of that. I wasn't elated. I mean, I was happy to hear about Utah State. I've been to Logan. I'll take a road trip to Logan. It's kind of cool, Logan. That's where Bobby Wagner played, and isn't Luke Falk from there? I think he is. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I just like that Utah State is in the West, and I want UNLV because it's Las Vegas and Cougs could party like no other there. And then I want Gonzaga for basketball, and then call it good. Just call it good. Maybe the conference would have been better with those other 3 schools from down south. But count me out on that. I'm so sick of all this bullshit. I want some sort of geographical, tie to my conference, and that's what the Pac-12 has always been.
All right, let's bring on Jamie Vinnick here in just a quick second from Coug fan. Give me 1 second here, and we're going to get his thoughts on it. Let's.
You think he'll have video?
You know what? Something tells me that Jamie may have a video. You never
find
know.
my password, so I just want you to know I'll be set next week.
Jamie, Paul Sorensen can't figure out.
I'm waving at you.
Can't figure out his video. Jim is having an issue with his earpiece and his hair, and so he can barely hear.
Hey, my hair looks pretty good, don't you think, Jamie? I mean, compared to you, anyway. God, you look like you just, the cat just drugged you in.
So it's welcome to the show, Jamie. Yeah, Jamie, I think you look great.
Yeah, I do too.
Thanks, Buck.
Jamie knows me. I know Jamie. I'm giving him shit. It's okay.
Earpiece is not working. Camera's not working. I get why they call us the Old Crimson Podcast, huh?
Yeah, good.
Oh,
Lord.
come on, Jamie.
I'm just
Come on. Is Hernandez playing
Hernandez?
this week?
No. Dickert said Fresno State.
Well,
Fresno
come on.
State.
Okay. And what about our kicker? I always ask you about the kicker. Puck, I just took over the show. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Is our kicker, is his confidence restored? Do we feel good about Dean Janikowski now?
I feel a lot better than I did after he missed the extra point. I mean, I think, I look back at, we had kind of a similar issue. You look back a few years, Eric Powell, when he was the kicker, and obviously he had to miss against Stanford. The next season wasn't so good. He hits that big kick against USC and then was absolute nails the rest of the season. So hopeful that's going to be the same trend with Janikowski, that 52-yarder kind of reinstills the confidence. Although, lo and behold, one of the talking points has been, hey, he's doing a lot right now. He's kicking, he's punting. Well, now he's also doing kickoffs because the kickoff guy, Ryan Harris, is hurt. So he is doing everything on special teams. They might as well just have him return. He's clearly, he's doing it all. So kicking, punting, kickoffs, he'll be doing it all this week. But certainly hopeful that 52-yarder kind of reminded him of what he is capable of.
Jamie, I'm getting blistered because these two guys think that the defense sucks and they're terrible. We should trade them in, for the ATO house when they play flag football. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to I thought Quinn Rolfe and Edson and of course they're nose guards.
His name's Gushikin. Maybe you should know his fucking name.
I wasn't going to say Gushikin, dumbass. I was going to say Gustav.
Lord.
The D line. I was focusing on the D line. Can I ask the fucking question here, you prick? Jesus Christ.
I don't even know his
anyway,
name.
So Thornton gets a pick. O'Connor gets a pick. The defense gets turnovers. They save the game for the second week in a row, on the last play pretty much defensively. I get it. They give up a ton of yards, but still they're making plays and they're helping win the game.
50 points.
They scored 52. Who cares? They won.
The first thing I'll point out is
it's the fuck show of record, Jamie. Go ahead. If you want to say fuck, go ahead.
The trade for ATO would work very well, considering that's not a fraternity anymore here.
That's right. They're out.
That's
right.
That's right. They double secret probation.
Yeah, we don't need to rehash why they're out. Go ahead, Jamie.
I think there's truth in both sides. Yes, I think on one hand, you have 52 points in a week. You didn't have your best week. And I think important to note, there were a couple short fields in there. 10 of those points came off the Mateer pick and then off the onside kick. So you get 10 points just on those short fields. That said, no, there were some issues. I mean, the fact of the matter is they're not going to see a better receiver this year than Nick Nash because there might not be a better receiver. So that is another thing to factor in, that they won't have to deal with a guy like that again. But it is concerning, I think, that San Jose State, which is not a good running team, was able to hit on a couple of pretty big runs when you look at the 66-yarder and then they had the 18-yarder later. Although outside of those, they did do a pretty good job on Chalk. I think that last drive that San Jose State, what many of us thought would be the game winner, there were some pretty spectacular catches in there. But again, you've got a 4th and 10 from the 20. You can't let them out of that. You can't give up a touchdown. Just can't happen. I think when it comes to the pass rush, and I think that was a part, you look at the first 3.5 quarters, I don't think it was there. And then I think in the last half of the fourth quarter, as they kind of started to gain a little momentum back from the offense and then into overtime, it did start to play a factor. So I think the jury is still out on the defense. Are they the team that gave up 82 points to San Jose State and Portland State, or the team that gave up 35 to Washington, Texas Tech? I mean, the fact of the matter is they held those teams to, I think, 3 total touchdowns. Which defense are you going to get? And part of that is the consistency. And, this obviously coming off a week where you give up 52 is a frightening week because you're seeing, in my opinion, the best player in the country in Ashton Janty at Boise State. So I think this will be a good test for them to kind of see where they are. The key for me is, look, he's going to get his yards. You got to make sure, A, he doesn't go for 300. B, they don't beat you with that passing game because it is purely a game manager situation there with their air attack. It's catch the snap and hand it off. But I don't think anyone in here is right about the defense, but no one's wrong, if that makes sense.
Great answer.
No, we're right, Jamie. The defense hasn't been good.
I don't know if I'd go that. Again, God. I think...
No, there you go. Off the cliff with the more bus.
I think there's been good moments. I think some consistency would be good because, again, we've seen them shut down 2 Power 5 offenses, but then get gashed by a Big Sky and a Mountain West offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem is just they haven't been good just in terms of, I think consistently. I think that's the problem. Consistently, they have not been good. And I think that's where I think a lot of people, have had their issues that consistently just have not been, the type of defense that you thought they were going to be.
Hey, Jamie, let me sneak one more in for you. What, like, over under on Genty rushing yards where the Cougars win or the Cougars lose?
I think that's a good number. If he gets to 200, they would have to pass. I mean, I'd say they have to pass for like 50 yards, but we just saw Michigan win with 32 passing yards. I think if he gets to 200, you're probably not looking at a win. I think if you can hold him 150 or under, that to me would be like, okay, I think you've got a pretty good chance. If he gets in again to the 200 range, even 190, 195, that's where it's like a lot of other things would have to go right. They would have to be scoring a lot, and there would have to be a pretty spectacular effort, I think, because again, if Genty has 200 yards and they have 240 yards, yeah, you probably win the game because they haven't thrown the ball at all. But I think you keep him at 150, I think you've got a good chance. That, of course, easier said than done because, again, this guy is just an absolute beast.
Yeah. Now my camera doesn't work on the show.
Yeah, I'm loving that.
Isn't that
this
karma
is great.
right there, baby?
Yeah, karma's a bitch because you guys have ruined it. This has been the worst.
Hey, Paul, wait a minute. It's our fault.
It's your fault.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know, but I'm going to blame you anyways.
Is it Jamie's fault?
Great.
It's Jamie's fault.
Maybe it's Barry Bolton's fault.
It could be Barry Bolton's fault.
Because we never see Barry Bolton. Hey, Jamie, is he a human being?
I talked to him
today. I had a good chat with him.
No, that's a bot.
Yeah, no, I saw
Barry does
I
not
saw
exist.
Paul's conversation with Barry on our transcription service, and I didn't even have to see the name, just by some of the phrasing and the verbiage. I'm like, okay, I think I know who Barry was talking to earlier.
This is
he
perfect.
He took out
though.
all the F-bombs that I was putting in there too, by the way.
It's perfect that my camera now just went kaput. I literally think my computer has just completely crapped out because it's like, when you touch like your monitor where the camera is, it's like 1,000 degrees. I think it said, I'm done. And you've been on for too long. Hey, before we wrap things up here, Jamie, what, because we're just going to wrap this one up today. I'm going to tell you that this one is over for today. How do you think they're going to do against Boise State on Saturday?
The alumni in me says, again, Cougs always win, but the journalist in me says I'm not particularly inspired by their chances of stopping Genty. And again, I think that's more to him than it is anything else. And yes, there have been obviously concerns and inconsistencies on the defense. I think Boise's going to end up winning this game. I think I put 38-28 on our predictions. I think Wazoo might score more than that, but I think it's just going to be a challenge to stop him. Again, first true road game, a tough place to play. It's going to be a hostile environment. I think this is going to be, this to me is, I said this before the season, the toughest game on the schedule. This I thought was going to be tougher than Tech, tougher than Washington. I think tougher than Fresno State, tougher than Oregon State. This is the toughest game on the schedule. And I think it's not, a guarantee. This is not like, in past years where, you're playing number 2 Oregon, it's not going to go well. They absolutely have the capability to win. I haven't seen enough to suggest or to indicate that they're going to be able to slow down Genty when, again, chalk for San Jose State and the Portland State guys ran pretty wild on them. Granted, they did do a decent job, a good job against Jonah Coleman. So I think Boise State probably has just a little too much firepower, especially on the ground for Wazoo in this one.
All right, we'll wrap it up before anything else just falls apart here on this show, because I just figured it's going to. Jamie, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, there he is.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs, buddy.
Jamie Vinnick joining us here on the show. I don't know.
Hey, you want me to take over like I did?
Got to wrap it up.
Hey, Jim Moore here for
Old
Jason
Crimson.
Puckett.
Old Crimson podcast is in the books, and this will be titled the Fuck Off Old Crimson podcast. Just a disaster from the get-go. Brought to you by Cougar Collective. Thank you, Cougar Collective, for your support. Join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90 a month. Also, be sure to check them out at cougarcollective.org. Big thanks to Andy Largent and Flat Stick Pub. And thank you, Andy, for all your support. Been a train wreck this week. Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. Visit flatstickpub.com. Any last thoughts before we leave? And thank God that this fucking show is over.
You think any of your sponsors are watching this going, why'd we sign up for this?
Yeah, well, especially when they see that your hair's all over the place and you have like your earbud is falling out.
I will say this. I'm going 42-41. Cougs are going to win it because they're the cardiac kid. Part 2 from, for this season. And then they can go into the bye 5-0, and we'll have a ton of shit to talk about. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right. For Jim Moore, Paul Sorensen, Jason Puckett, hey, watch it on YouTube where you can just see Jim Moore and his messy hair. And then, of course, listen to it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, at pucksports.com. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com.